four are completely interdependent on each other. You know, I mean, what you all make policy, you allocate money, and your ability to work together is critical. And so, and I see it all the time. I also, in that year that I went, I saw the divisions in the court and how difficult that was. You know, you gotta find a way. You just have to find a way. And it's great to see you all here, and it's great the way you all are supporting each other. So I for one appreciate it. I think that's a winning formula. So let's start off with Alfonso, who is running for district attorney. So we've established that water concerns, from simply surviving and sustaining our water sources, go beyond that. They go to our beauty and the economies of our area. Those are our top priorities here in the Wimberley Valley. They may shift a little bit in the other areas, but that's what you hear about the most here. What are your plans for the environmental division that you have now of the DA's office?
To support it and to grow it, first and foremost, right? So I got lucky that ground got broke on the environmental department under Kelly's regime. But the problem is it's literally a two-man operation. It's one investigator right now and one attorney. So when you think environmental, you think of, let's see what's gonna have the biggest impact, and we can work on that. It's a two-man operation, right? They can't do that right now. So what I need to do is ensure that all of the offices are running smoothly, so then we can go and focus on the environmental. And right now they're doing smaller things, right? Dumping, polluting, but on like an individual level. And while that's great, so we can stop the smaller people and there's fines involved, what I'm looking for is the developers, the builders, the people that are dumping the 100,000 gallons of water every so often. And to sound like a Republican, it's because they have the bank that I can go after to then go and undo the damage in which they did, right? And there's fines involved, and there's all kinds of things that we can do to them, and there's restrictions that we can put in place. But I can't do that unless I have the means to do that.
And maybe the commissioner's court would provide those means?
In a list of things that I will be there for every day, like you said, for a year, from top down, that is one of my priorities. It's very difficult in my position on what's a balance, right? Water, sustainability, our environment is very important for us. And that's a future endeavor that I need to make sure that I'm protecting, not everybody in this room, but generations that are coming still.
Right.
At the same time, I need to protect everybody in this room from the people that are doing the harm today, tomorrow, tonight. So once I can find the means and the people to implement on both of those things, I'll balance those scales, and then I can go after everybody.
Sounds easy.
Going after everybody, I think it's good. I would say also that as Democrats, and I found this to be, when we do our city work, and that's my frame of reference, is when you start with your values, then it's easier to make your budget. Because you go, and I think our national budget, it's clear. I mean, what our national budget, it's about guns and war and, you know, shooting up people and, you know, giving your tithe to Donald Trump, you know, pretty much. But at the county level, you know, we have other priorities, and I think that's helpful, and that's how you all will definitely be working together. So to the point of the judges that we were just talking about, how do you envision working with the sitting judges to make some headway on the family and juvenile issues in a preventative way?
So, very difficult question, right? And I have to start in a foundational sense of things. So when you talk about the juvenile division, it's very different than the adult. And it's a little odd in the statute, but juvenile probation gets involved very early, and they decide what gets deferred out to, let's say, one of these specialty courts, but for children, right? A diversion of them going through the entire process. And that's the JP judges, all 8 of them. That's truancy cases, that's drug cases, that's anything that they can try to get their hands on first. Currently, the way things are set up is there's a small gap in which In the DA's office, it looks like all these kids are just the worst already. We've had a weird shift, and it's cultural. It has to do something that's happening in the community, from your run-of-the-mill kids will be kids, vandalism, thefts, things like that, to running around with guns and trying to kill each other, and like, when I mean drugs, I mean things like fentanyl, other things that you would think adults would be doing after they've already served some sort of time. And there's this gap between the truancies, the getting into some sort of fights, the diversion programs, and then all of a sudden they're showing up and they're full-on criminals. And we weren't understanding how that was happening, but it's because there's an oversight issue. And so I'm going to work directly with the JP judges, juvenile probation, all of the diversion courts, to try to focus on a streamline where the DA's office is involved from start to hopefully we never reach finish. If we can get our hands in there, we can start diverting things, paying more attention, focusing our resources on what we were missing, on how they're going from these early things to these full-on crimes, and we can stop those full-on crimes from happening.
That's heartening, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's heartening. So I'm gonna continue the thread of, I believe there will be a Democratic sweep in Hays County and beyond. I think it will be a we're looking at from the DA's office is, this is a team right here. I mean, you all are not, you have to implement, everybody has to work together. There's just no way you can get around it. So how do you envision that working relationship with, the wallet, the bank account kind of thing, which would be these people?
So I'm in a unique situation. I am similar to the judges in that we actually have an entire ethics set up that you cannot do your job if you do not reach these qualities of ethics, right? As a
Gosh,
human
that
being.
happens here, but apparently not at the DOJ. I had to say it.
But then they get put into this other bubble, right? You're in the judiciary, you're in an entirely different branch of government. They want you to sit alone at lunch and don't get involved, right? I, on the other hand, am thrown into the fray, right? I am standing here with other county wives that are going to be on the commissioner's court and the judge. I still have my ethics obligations, but I'm sitting next to other individuals that are candidates for political offices. So that leaves me in a unique situation where I have always harped on this, even in my primary race, is that I'm trying to bring transparency, legitimacy, and just where everyone who was on the Democratic ticket is above reproach. And in order to do that is that you have to lead with examples, you have to lead by example, and with what you said your values are. And so in the DA's office, we give guidance to every elected official. We bring criminal justice reform. I personally am a veteran, so I can sit down and talk about issues that deal with veterans court or services that are needed in the county. And then all of the little legal things that go into that. And if I am successful and I work with law enforcement and work with other individuals that are in our county to solve problems, that frees up dollars to do other things. And that frees up dollars for more services that are outside of the judicial system, mental health services. I've always told people that the way I look at the job I'm taking on is that it's like a trifold, but right now it's just been closed. All I can do is help people that have already got arrested. All I can do is help people that are already in trouble or that are sitting behind bars. But if I can perfect this system, I will already have everybody's name and numbers in which provides those services, and I can fold them out to the general public. And while that might not be the DA's position, that's my position, given, like I said, I'm leading with this ethics background and this transparency and credibility that I want to bring to the county. And so I will bring all of those issues to Johnny, to Angie, to Michelle, and work on them in what we see fit for the county as almost boots on the ground, and then ideas and thoughts that can implement my hopes and dreams, if you will.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Alfonso. I think you were more unknown to us than others, and so I really appreciate having this sort of extended conversation on this, and to see how it plays in with the other folks and all that. So thanks very much. So understand, know, we invited Johnny and Angie also, even though hardly anybody in this room can vote for either one of them. But their race and their getting elected is critical to us, because a Democratic majority is what we need on that court, and we went a long time without a Democratic majority, and what happened eventually was that, you know, there became this different culture at the courthouse, as you probably know, because it became blue with you. Yeah. And so that's when you had sort of the ghosts of Bert Cobb and the ghosts of all of those people that were, that, you know, sort of set a tone over there. So, when we have them here, they need your support too. And they are critical in the whole makeup of everything. And also, the future is critical. So, you know, when you're a 3-2 court, you're one election away, you're one seat away from everything blowing up. And we've been there, and we don't want to be there. I mean, you know, I would appreciate that if everybody could kind of get along, but it's not happening. So, and if you've ever sat there, you know it's not happening. So that brings me to you, Michelle.
Yes,
yes. And so I have known Michelle, you know, when I was running before, and the remarkable thing about Michelle is she was never running, but she was everywhere that I went to meet people, like the VFW, the pancake breakfast. She wasn't running for anything, but she was making pancakes. And I'm going like, what are you doing here? And same with the AMVETS. And AMVETS needed some stuff that our commissioner was not delivering on, and she was going to help them with that. That was the accessible restroom that you were working with, yeah. And so I've always known Michelle to be someone who is super involved in the community and so quiet about it that I'm like, how come nobody knows about this? And what I learned during that time was she was good counsel, talking about sort of the way things were working within the commissioner's court. So what I wanted to talk to you about is your approach is very organizational because of your background. And so, and I sort of have, I'm not an organizational psychologist, but I'm married to one, so same thing. And so it is of interest to me, and having worked in several large corporations, but what you and I normally talk about is, you know, what does it take at the county judge level to sort of make the next, you know, to get to the next level in county government here? I mean, what is your vision of that structure and at the county level?
Thank you for that question. So I am a very kind of, you know, wide vision kind of person. I think I spent my first year watching everybody, watching the departments, watching the processes, understanding the dynamic of the court, identifying the gaps in our process. And it was just very clear to me that our county did not have a plan for the future. We were putting out fires, and we were throwing money at initiatives to put out that fire, but we were never doing anything to address that same problem coming back to us in the future, right? So Rebecca is right. I'm kind of a quiet politician. I don't tote my accomplishments or my initiatives, and that's probably a bad quality for a politician.
Campaigning is hard.
Yeah, yes, you know, and so I do like to work kind of behind the scenes and connecting people, building bridges, doing my due diligence, benchmarking, talking to other counties, you know, talking to departments, trying to understand the process, because whatever I bring to the court over this last 3 years, like, I want it to pass. I want to get the votes. I want to make sure it moves forward. I just didn't want to have a great idea, bring it to court, and then it just blow up on me. right? And so I do my due diligence with any initiative that I focus on. And one of the things that I brought to the county was the county's first county administrator. And with that position, she was tasked by me to create the county's first strategic plan. Well, we haven't had a plan since 2011. And I will just tell you, as a commissioner, going through the past 3 budget cycles, it was a mess because every department needed something. Every department needs positions. They have a great idea. They need money. And it was too difficult. It was too difficult as a decision maker to decide over someone else. You get a little bit or you don't get anything. And it just wasn't working. And I felt that I could not go to my constituents and tell you, here's our plan for the future, guys. I didn't have that. I couldn't explain, where we were headed. And so for me, I needed to create a plan. And that's where that strategic plan is. It's actually live right now. There's a draft of it on our website, and there's a survey that you can take to give your input on the plan, because I do want this to be very community focused. I'm a big social programs kind of person. That was the catalyst for me to run for office in the first place, which was COVID and the health disparities. That was my motivator. And so I'm very social programs driven. And one thing that I've noticed about the county just overall, they don't want to be involved in programs. They feel that it's not their job to take care of homelessness or food insecurity or criminal justice reform or any of these things. And my view is completely opposite. I said, no, when people are in trouble and they need help, we as a government, we owe them that. We need to step up to the plate. And that's what I've been preaching over the last 3.5 years is it's time for the government to get involved. We can't. Do you see what happening in the city of Kyle, where it's this Doge kind of thing going on over there, where they're cutting everything, including the Eastside campus that we were going to partner with them, including the animal shelter that we were going to partner on, right? And so it's very difficult, when you have sometimes these barriers. But I'm a big partner collab person. Like, I want to find this space where we can work together with our cities, and even regionally what we can do together, even finding space across political lines, and there's something that we can do together. And so for me, going from commissioner to county judge, like, this is a prerequisite that I'm in right now. Like, I have been doing the due diligence that is needed to make sure that we are building a foundation for Hays County of the future. And so when I become county judge, there's no learning curve with me. Like, I want to know exactly where we're headed, because by the time January 1, our strategic plan will be adopted, our new budget will be adopted. My hope is that it's going to focus around the things that you care about, that you want to see changed, right? And so I'm really excited about those resources and this strategic plan, and and everyone that's in the county, that our staff, they are so excited about the initiatives that are coming around criminal justice, around water, around development regulation, which is happening right now. We're having an open house right now for a community to give input on those future guidelines, right? And so we're all in. We are all in, and I'm just so excited about the future for Hays County, and it's just going to be amazing.
So I gotta say this. Listen to what she said about development regulations being fun. I mean, really? I went to the development regulations open house last night that you all had, and you gotta love that stuff. I mean, it is not for everybody, I can tell you that. But that sort of highlights for me, and this is my experience on this stuff, is that Wimberley recently got involved in an interlocal agreement, and Jeff Brasco will attest to that. The city of Wimberley, the city of Wood Creek, and the county all partnered to have an entity to talk about how we can work together to get grants and to facilitate a real partnership for utilities, primarily water. So I'd like for you to and I know for a fact in Wimberley, we can't do anything by ourselves. We just don't have enough money. And so it's critical that we have partners. I love those ILAs, I love that interlocal thing. And that is kind of to have a partner that way is very important. Can you talk a little bit more about the collaboration and partnership element that speaks to the water and the things that we're concerned about here?
So currently the county is doing a water study. You know, we are going through this process right now. The hope from that water study is that it's gonna come out with some solutions for the county. Because there is this big fat water fund that the state has that we wanna take advantage of. But we need to, I understand that what's happening on the west side is completely different than what's happening on the east side.
100%.
It's completely different, right? West side, no growth. East side is all growth right now, but bad infrastructure, right? And so I'm completely sensitive to that. And I want to protect our natural resources of Wimberley, Dripping Springs, Driftwood. They are so important because that water runs down to us, right? To the east side. And so, you know, for me, it's always been about flooding, quality of water, aging water infrastructure, because a lot of marginalized communities live on the east side, you know, and what I've seen, and I've said this before, you know, I've lived in the county over 40 years, and the road infrastructure and everything else looks exactly the same. Exactly the same. And that tells me is that the leadership of the past did not give a damn. They did not give a damn about the marginalized communities or the lack of resources. That's why me and Commissioner Inglesby are fighting. I mean, we are fighting for just basic county services on the east side. That is where our east side building is. I mean, that's something that her and I have been working on for 3.5 years, because it's gonna bring resources to an area of the county that has never had it. Never had it. And so, like I said, I'm very social issue driven kind of person, but the goal for the water is that we're gonna have this study, it's gonna give us solutions, we're gonna go to the cities and we're gonna say, okay, here's what our water study says.
We don't have that, we haven't had that.
And so what can we work on collaboratively, and having a representative like Aaron Wiener, right? Being able to go to her and support her and advocate with her at
and
the
Mary
state.
Fox.
And Mary Fox, exactly. Having that partnership with the state like that, and that's something that we've been talking about recently about our lack of involvement in the legislative, issues. Nobody's telling me as a commissioner, hey, Michelle, we need you to go to this, Capitol and testify. And so I'm like, we're changing that. We are going to be so more involved in the legislature next year, because I understand how important it's going to be. We're going to fight for water. We're going to fight against data centers. We're going to fight for education. All of these services that we need. I mean, it is so critical that Gina gets in that seat, and Vicki Goodwin gets in that seat, and Senator Eckhart gets in that seat, because that is going to change everything. And fighting for county control.
Yes.
That's also what it's going to come down
And
to.
city control. I mean,
city control.
right now we have Republicans who have taken away our jurisdiction over our ETJ. And it's like, oh my, it's impossible. We have these large parcels that are disannexed from the city. So honestly, it's kind of nerdy. I kind of like it. I'm seeing you kind of like it. I know those two down there kind of like it too. And you have to kind of like it. But I thank you for that. I appreciate that perspective. I mean, I think that's a fuller picture than we had from both you and Alfonso. I think we got to know both of them better.
Yes, very much.
We're going to talk to Angie Unger, and I know that you have met Angie before. However, Angie, I just don't think there's a person in here that can vote for Angie, is there?
Right here.
There you go, one. Yay! There, two. There you go. Okay. All right. Well, so two. But we're here to support you because we need good Democrats on that commissioner's board. So what I wanted to talk to you about, and we've got this water thing going. So how do you see the role of commissioner in water conservation? And we know that's kind of water and growth are kind of joined that way. Tell us how you feel about that, Angie.
Well,
That's a long answer.
Yes.
No, but so water is very complex, right? Like Ms. Michelle said, you know, the west side is very different from the east side. The things that we've been facing on the west side, especially in the more rural areas, we're seeing growth that can affect, you know, the sentiment there is that we're seeing more growth rapidly, kind of unchecked growth. So what I would like to do, and our office would like to do, is just make sure we have more responsible development, right? We don't wanna, we wanna make sure, and as a matter of fact, in my campaign, we are running a 100% grassroots campaign, meaning we are not taking any developer money. We want to make sure that our campaign focuses strictly on the people and people come first. I want to make sure we listen and really, you know, the rural people, we want to listen to the rural people and abide by the sentiment that has been going on in Precinct 4. And that is to really protect our resources and our water because of that unchecked development. Apart from that, you know, apart from having more responsible development, more sustainable development, we want to make sure we really educate the public about rainwater harvesting, and I've spoken about that. We want to make sure if there is a way that we can somehow provide more incentives for people who want to actually go that route, right? Because there are people, by the way, I'm in real estate, so it has a lot to do.
I am too. So.
It has a lot to do with land and water, and you know, part of it, how I got here is because some clients on the rural side, when we were shopping around, we found out that there are wells that have gone dry, and that affects your property values. So that's kind of like where I started seeing like, hey, you know, we have a problem. So public education when it comes to rainwater harvesting, incentivizing that somehow, making sure, like I said, we have more sustainable development, responsible development, and you know, working with our court, making sure we have a collaborative environment where, you know, we all work together towards that. We want, Ms. Michelle said that also the state has a big water fund, so making sure we advocate and apply for that as well. Yep.
Right. Well, and I know that water fund is something everybody's trying to get their hands on.
Correct.
And so having the entities, but partnering gives you a much better chance, which is why we have here in Wimberley and Wood Creek, we have that interlocal agreement. Otherwise, a lot of those areas wouldn't be, just alone Wimberley would be eligible, just alone Wood Creek would. So all of this is, we gotta really stick together. So I know Angie has been very enthusiastic, and she is, and I would say, here is somebody who likes to campaign. Yeah. And so, and I understand, because I like to do it too, but a lot of people.
So I wanna add to that because I am all about the hard work. Like in the primary, like for 7 days, I only slept 2 hours a day, and I would come home like with blisters, my feet. I have, you know, my campaign is full of women, men too, but you know, a lot of women, and I would come home sometimes at midnight, you know, and people would open the doors, or they would be eating dinner, or they would be like, what are you doing in the freezing, you know, weather back in December when we were block walking, or on New Year's, right? So I'm a hard believer of hard work, but I'm also a believer of solidarity. We need unity. We need to make sure that our foundation doesn't have cracks, because if it does, we can't really, you know, belong or really sweep, you know, like with this blue wave that we have. And
Well, and I think the issue with that is don't start a vote you can't win. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's that kind of thing. You know, who are your allies? You know, what kind of compromises do you have to make in order to get the best thing for everybody. That's right, it's 3 votes. Yeah,
That's what you need.
right.
So you need 3 votes. So I just want to make sure we remove the elephant in the room, pun intended.
I like it.
You know, we've had more than 15 years in precinct 4 of, Republican. You know, they've held that seat for a very long time. And it's really time to restore it and bring it back to democratic values. And I'd love my colleagues to know, like, I am a collaborative person. I do believe in unity. I believe that we as a people have a social contract to be, not be so quarrelsome. Even as Democrats in general, I also believe that a new leadership is being born among this extremism. And I don't mean a new leadership. I don't mean like the birthday, on your passport or on your birth certificate. I mean a mindset, an idea, a character. Because I've spoken in my speeches and I've said, being a commissioner is not just budgets. It is. We'll have smart budgets, and I'll work with my more experienced colleagues as well. It's not just about roads, but it's also about a place, and it's also about a people and a future, right? It's a future that we also have to look out for, and that includes protecting our water. That includes responsible development. That includes making sure the public comes first. This is why, again, I said my campaign is 100% grassroots. So we need every dollar you guys have.
Wow, you the first one to talk about it.
I know.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate all that, and I have to say, precinct 4 is changing. That's kind of a very different approach there.
Yeah.
Next is Johnny Flores, and Johnny is somebody that we've known, for a while. He's been involved. He's been on the school board, and he's running for precinct 2. So if Michelle will be vacating that, and Johnny has a Republican opponent, we also know Angie does too. So next to you. So what we're talking about, and we talk about growth, and we've all talked about growth and water, but precinct 2 is the smallest and most dense. And that's not, we're the largest and the least dense here in precinct 3. So talk about, kind of try to weave together that the idea of the roads and the growth and what you've seen in your experience with the school board.
I want to first thank Tanya and Mary for giving me license to stand, because I am an educator, so I will. Thank you very much. I have not been out to Wimberley over the past 10 months because I'm obviously in precinct 2, but I'm going to introduce myself properly. My name is Johnny Flores, and I'm the Democratic nominee for the Hays County Commissioner's Court in precinct 2. I'm also the father of 2 little girls and a former Hays CISD school board trustee, representing one of the fastest growing districts in the state, the largest employer in Hays County, and a district with an even larger budget than that of Hays County. And for the past several years, I have pushed back against the bullying that has come from Ken Paxton and the bullying that has come from our governor that looks to weaken public education and to bully our transgender youth and those in the immigrant community, who I was proud to support, and to be part of the first resolution passed by any governmental body in Hays County that said that all immigrants, no matter who they are going to be represented in Hays CISD and are valued in Hays CISD. So we pushed back against it. But I want to say that I have to explain the reason why I chose to run. I have seen the barriers of families in our school district, the food insecurity of many students. And we know that students cannot learn when they are hungry. Driving to school, in many cases, young drivers on inadequate roads that have not been addressed in years or in decades. And I applaud the work that Dr. Michelle Cohen has put into providing quality roads in this precinct. And it is also an issue of not having services in these communities. And we as Democrats, we believe in giving voice to the voiceless, to ensure that folks have services, mental health services, public health services, to ensure that we are meeting people who they are, where they are, and where they live. That is why I am running, to ensure that folks have a county government that works for them. All residents, whether they got here decades ago or whether they arrived yesterday, deserve a government that works for them. That is why I'm running. And again, roads and infrastructure is a big priority of mine. Because as we see young mothers or mothers and fathers waiting in traffic for 45 minutes to travel 2 miles in congested and unsafe roads, that is what I am fighting for in Precinct 2. And make no mistake, I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas. And I understand the pain that can be caused in kicking the can down the road in regards to water. We must form from this water study a 50-year water plan like they have in Williamson County. So we are not only conserving, but increasing our water capacity. And this will be a monumental effort that will have to take place amongst all levels of government, from the city governments to county and to the state and federal level. And that is why I'm running. But it is great to be here in Wimberley. Thank you so much.
When it's all said and done, and I'm not gonna ask you much more because you basically said it all just now. But there are unique needs in each of these precincts. And so what we're missing here is 1, and we are missing 3. And 3, Jeff and I are pitching pretty hard in precinct 3. You know, I think that there is a lot going on in precinct 3. I think we're in a transition period with the water. We're doing a lot. And that is a result of the work that we're able to do with the county. The water study is critical. We never had that before. I mean, we don't even know what the capacity is. So we just keep letting more and more people move in, and we don't know how much water we have. Now, I do know over in San Marcos has the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer. Well, that's way bigger than the Hayes Trinity over here. I mean, the Hayes Trinity is kind of in trouble. So all of us have different needs, and it's gonna be up to the judge to sort of wrangle everybody. And so I'm kind of okay with a nerd doing that. That's what we're talking about here. I mean, what we're talking about is planning, it's, you know, charting the course and all that kind of thing. So I think that works just fine. I have a lot of confidence in all of you, and I am very happy that you all came tonight. And now I want to get a really fun picture.